unserem ersten Retro-Shop-Panel mit einem ganz besonderen Gast, nämlich dem einzigartigen William Lustig. Ich muss ihn euch, glaube ich, nicht großartig vorstellen. Regisseur von Maniac, Maniac Cop 1 bis 3, Street Fighters, natürlich auch Uncle Sam und mittlerweile einer der bekanntesten Filmrestauratoren der USA, der über 400 Filme, darunter auch ganz viele italienische Klassiker, in den letzten 20 Jahren mit seiner Firma Blue Underground restauriert hat. Deshalb nochmal bitte einen großen Applaus für William, weil es wirklich eine einfach nur große Ehre ist, dass er hier heute anwesend ist.
Translating what I say?
No, because they're all fluent in English, that we will speak in English.
German?
Because it's a nice thing to do to introduce you. Well,
I'm insulted, but that's okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're getting just into it. I would like to start with your career, because what many people don't know here is that you actually started in the adult film industry. That's how you got into film business, is that right?
Yes, adult films was my film school. That's how I learned how to make movies, was working the adult business. I started, I think I was around 17 years old when I worked on my first one. And then I directed an adult movie when I was 21. And yeah, I was too young to see it. So anyway, it was, yeah, that was it. It was my film school. I worked on that in New York for many years.
And what did you learn during doing not only adult films, but independent movies in general?
Well, what I learned everything there is to know making a movie. I learned how to load cameras. I learned how to do sound. I learned what each position on a film set does. I learned post-production. I mean, you name it. I had a class in it, so to speak, by working on these movies. And it was a period when, this is before adult movies were all being made on video. This is when they were shot on 35 millimeter. And yeah, they were like real movies. They weren't, the crew that worked on the first adult movie that I worked on had just finished doing the movie Superfly. You know that movie, you guys? Yeah. And so it's like, they go back and forth between regular movies and adult films.
The golden age of porn. That's how they called it, right?
I don't know. I don't know if it was really the golden age of porn. I mean, I've occasionally seen some of the films. I can't watch them because they're so boring. They attempt to make a real movie out of it. But you're dealing with people that, they can't even say their own name. And they're asking them to recite dialogue in a mode. And, and it's just painful to watch. Plus, I don't find a lot of the women particularly attractive. They all seem to have saggy tits and of course, it was before they shaved. So.
But we all know exactly what you are talking about.
Yeah.
Because
so I don't know how golden it is.
Because today at the Shocktoberfest, in the evening, we're going to show some fine Bavarian porn from the 70s with lederhosen and all that stuff. Just saying, so if someone wants to stay until the evening, you can experience what he was talking about.
I'll tell you something funny. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I was in Germany doing publicity for Maniac, and there was a day when Joe Spinell and I we were free to do whatever we wanted, and we were in Siegen, and I remember we were in a multiplex, and there was a movie I went in to see, which was a Bud Spencer, Terence Hill movie, shot in Florida, and I forget the name of the movie, but I'm watching this Terence Hill, Bud Spencer movie in one theater, and Joe went into another theater. And suddenly Joe comes into my theater and yanks my arm. Come, you gotta see this, you gotta see this. And I go walking in to his theater, and there was a girl at the moment I walked in who was urinating on a fish that was being cooked on an outdoor pit. You know, like a pit on a beach or something, you know, a fire pit. And she's urinating on the fish and onto the fire. It was, and I go, oh. He goes, can you believe this? Can you believe this? Joe was all excited. He had seen something worse than, he had seen something more perverted than the stuff on New York's 42nd Street, at least for that time.
Well, that leads me actually to your first movie for some very weird reasons. Maniac, you were just 25 years old when you made it, and I
24 actually.
24, and I didn't know that. I thought you were a bit older because 24 is such a young age. Joe Spinell kind of kicked off the project, if I remember it correctly. What did he saw in you as a young director?
You know, I've asked myself that question, and because Joe really was very respectful to me as the director of the film, and I often wondered why. You know, I was so young. He had worked with great filmmakers, and he was so respectful of what I was doing, and. I mean, Joe and myself, and you know, it was a project that I would say it was a real collaborative project. It was not any one person. It was a real collaboration with Joe and myself creatively.
Great. And well, this collaboration led to one of the most notorious movie hits of the year 1980. Mm-hmm. The movie was banned in Germany for 40 years, and it's getting a new release. And I would like to know what was the most surprising reaction from maybe audience members or friends to the film.
Well, actually, Germany, it did come out theatrically, uncut initially. It did come out. And the first audience screening of the film that I saw was in Germany. It was actually in Siegen. And what I remember is the audience not reacting to the movie. Now, I had seen it with not paying audiences, but with, like, you know, festival audiences. And, you know, they would yell and, you know, and react and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And nothing. The screening was as dead as can be. And I go, oh, my God, the movie's a bomb. It's terrible. So I'm standing there with the German distributor. I'm ready for him to kill me. And he calls over at the end of the screening. A guy goes around collecting, putting the ashtrays into a bucket. And this is at the time when you could smoke in the cinemas. And he calls the guy over to look in the bucket. And he looks in this bucket, and he gets all excited. And I'm looking at this guy like he's nuts. And he said, look how much cigarettes and ashes. He goes, they love the movie, they love the movie. And then he went on to explain that in Germany, when the audiences are affected by the movie, they light up cigarettes during the movie. What do they do now when there's no smoking? But at the time, he said they would light up cigarettes, and that's how they would react to scary things. And he was delighted. He looked in the bucket, he said, oh, this is good. Good for you, it's good for me.